So, what is going on with the Florida housing market? I mean, you look one way and prices seem to be falling. You look another, and the super rich are on an absolute buying spree. The signals are confusing, to say the least. In the next few minutes, we're going to slice right through that noise and use the real data to figure out what's actually happening. And this slide right here, this is the heart of the confusion. Take Orlando. The average home prices dropped nearly 6% from last year. Okay, but then you drive just a few hours south to Miami, and sales of homes over $1 million have shot up by 21%. I mean, they're two completely different stories, happening in the same state at the exact same time. How is that even possible? Well, that brings us to the big question we're tackling in this explainer. What is the real story here? Is it a buyer's market, a seller's market, or are we looking at something else entirely? We are going to unpack this mystery, piece by piece, starting with the part of the market that affects most everyday people. Okay, the first piece of this puzzle is what we can call the Main Street market. This is where most of us are buying and selling homes. And the headline here is pretty simple. After years of just absolute frenzy and bidding wars, things are finally cooling off. It looks like the turn is shifting back toward the buyers. Let's zoom in on Orlando. We already know prices are down 6%, but look deeper. There's almost 8 months worth of homes for sale right now. That gives buyers choices and leverage. And get this, it's taking an average of 81 days to sell a home. That's the longest it's been in a decade. The bottom line here, the pressure is off. Buyers can actually breathe a little and have a bit more power. And listen, this isn't just an Orlando thing. Not at all. We're seeing sellers all over the state starting to face a new reality. They're having to get a lot more realistic about what their homes are actually worth. Let's just head over to the Gulf Coast to see what I mean. Whoa, look at these numbers. In just 1 week, we saw over 700 price drops in Sarasota County alone, and almost as many right next door in Manatee County. When you see figures like this, it's a flashing neon sign that the days of sellers just picking a price out of thin air, well, those days are over. The power is definitely shifting. Now, Tampa. Tampa is where things get really interesting. It's not just that the market is cooling off. It's that the market has literally broken in half. There's a very specific dividing line that separates the homes that are red hot from the ones that are not. And this chart shows that dividing line perfectly. If you're looking for a house under $400,000, you'd better be ready to sprint. It's still a world of intense competition, multiple offers, the whole deal. But the second you cross that $400,000 line, it becomes a marathon. Homes are just sitting there, and sellers are starting to offer credits to sweeten the pot. And buyers, they've gotten picky. An outdated kitchen in a pricier home is now a complete deal breaker. Okay, so while that Main Street market is cooling down and splitting apart, there is a totally different universe operating at the very high end. The luxury market isn't just warm, it is a world apart, and it is playing by a completely different set of rules. Remember that 6% price drop in Orlando? Well, get ready for some whiplash. In Miami-Dade County, sales of homes over $1 million jumped 21% in just 1 year. That's not a cooling market, that's a bonfire. And it really shows you just how disconnected the high-end market is from the rest of the state. And no, that is not an exaggeration. The Miami Association of Realtors has basically planted a flag, declaring South Florida the #1 ultra-luxury market in the entire country. We're talking about a global destination for wealth that is fundamentally changing the state's real estate identity. So what's feeding this fire? It really boils down to 3 things. First, you've got this massive migration of wealthy people from high-tax states like California and New York. Second, cash is king. Miami leads the entire nation in all cash home sales. And third, and this is so important, those cash buyers are completely insulated from high mortgage rates. While the rest of us are stressing about interest rates, for them, it's just not a factor. And we're not talking about faceless millionaires here. We are talking about some of the biggest names you can think of. Mark Zuckerberg from Meta, Larry Page and Sergey Brin from Google. They've all recently bought these massive properties in South Florida, pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into that ultra-luxury scene. Okay, so we have 2 totally separate markets. Main Street is cooling, luxury is booming. But it's not that simple. Now we have to talk about the wild cards, 3 major forces out there that could totally shake up the system for everyone, from the first-time home buyer all the way up to the billionaire. First up, this is a big one. There's a proposal for the 2026 ballot, it's called HJR 203, that would completely wipe out city and county property taxes for your main home. If this thing passes, it could cut the average homeowner's tax bill in half. That's a massive, massive change. But, and this is a huge but, it comes with a nearly $15 billion question mark. On one side, people say it's fantastic tax relief that cements Florida's low-tax brand. But on the other side, critics are sounding the alarm. They're warning it would blow a $14.8 billion hole in local budgets, threatening funding for things like police and fire departments. And there's another fear, that this quote-unquote tax cut might just make home prices spike even higher, making things even less affordable. Our second wild card is, well, it's a reality check. Because despite that luxury boom, Florida consistently has one of the highest foreclosure rates in the country. It's a reminder that for a lot of regular Floridians, the economic picture is really tough, especially with things like insurance costs and HOA fees just going through the roof. And the final wild card? This one takes aim directly at that booming luxury market. Starting March 1st, a new federal rule is kicking in that's going to require a lot more transparency for those all-cash purchases made through anonymous LLCs or trusts. It's designed to fight money laundering, and it could bring a whole new level of scrutiny to the very deals that are fueling South Florida's boom. So, with all these competing forces, the cooling, the booming, the wild cards, what does this all mean for you? How do you actually navigate this market? Well, we've pulled all this information together into a simple playbook for both buyers and sellers for the rest of 2026. All right, if you're a buyer, listen up. It all comes down to your price point. If you're looking under $400,000, you still got to be ready to move fast with your best offer. But if you're shopping over $500,000, you have the gift of time. You can negotiate, you can ask for credits, you can be picky. In this new climate, sellers with higher-priced homes and dated kitchens are going to have to be the ones who wait. Now, for sellers, the message could not be clearer. The game has changed. You have to price your home realistically right from day one. That modern kitchen, it's not a bonus anymore. For a lot of buyers, it's a requirement. If your house is in that $500,000 plus range, prepare to be patient and think about offering credits to make your property stand out. Right now, flexibility is the key to getting a deal done. So you see, there really isn't one Florida housing market anymore. It's splintering into these different realities based on your budget, where you live, and even how you pay. And really the only question is, as we move through 2026, which piece of this fractured landscape will you be standing on?